Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Malts and Meeples. I'm stuck here behind a small stack of games. Let's just do a quick count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 different games, if I counted correctly. A little bit of a haul from Gen Con. We moved some of this out of the way so that we start chatting and looking at the games that showed up. Well, came home with me. Showed up is really the wrong term because I made the intentional decision to come home with these. And I have a margarita. So, let's enjoy that. And with no further ado, let's start talking about Gen Con. Because Gen Con wrapped up, well, I was gone last Wednesday, hence no stream. And now back with everything I picked up. I got back on Sunday night, which is nice. Gives me a chance to kind of rest and relax. I'm sorry, I'm messing with one thing here, which will make sense in a second. So I pull off some film. But yeah, it was another really fun Gen Con. And I got to meet up with some people that I'd seen last year, as well as then just do my normal thing. I think, if my math is correct, I played 42, 43 different games. A ton. I'll show off the first two things that I got here, because these two will come from, I'll use this lower camera for. Then I'm going to switch to overhead here in a second. But these are Star Wars Unlimited cards that were upside down there. Vader and Luke. 50-50. Something's going to be the right way up. These were promos that you got for doing the Star Wars Unlimited event. And that was the last event I did. Ton of fun. I like the game. It's a very simple system, very fast system to pick up and play. So, big thumbs up to Fantasy Flight Games for that one, because it certainly had a shot of being something that was over convoluted. I'm going to be curious to see when this one's released. 2024 is the release date for it, next year. I actually think it is going to be released prior to Gen Con so that they can hold like an official big tournament. I guess they kind of did that with Lorcana, if I remember correctly, but yeah, we might have 2 years of madness, TCG madness, between Lorcana, which I did not partake in. You will not see that anywhere here. And then Star Wars Unlimited. I do want to pick up some Lorcana cards just because I want to try it. I'll probably pick up a booster box at some point in time. Nothing too quickly because prices are just going to be high and hard to come by. Right now I think you can find a booster box, like one of the Gen Con boxes, which I think sold for $150, being sold for $200 plus on eBay. $200 isn't too bad a markup, actually. But let's start looking at some of the games here. Now let's get down to the table. Well, almost to the table. Move around a couple things. Show off what I got. I might zoom in actually first. Probably should have been on top of that to start. There we go. Much better. So, now if we switch cameras here. Let's see, I think this one. We have a few games in the center here. Them all facing the same way. Two little games from Oink. Very small box. Whale to Look was a new one this year, and then this actually is the hot game from 2022, Scout. That sold out fast and has been exceedingly popular. It's open to hot. That's what we're here for. Whale to Look. Let's start with that one. Got all our instructions. Got our little tiles, little people. Whale and orca. And this is a game of trying to figure out where the whale and the orca are going to show up at. You have these different ocean tiles, go from 0 to 5, as well as these open sea tiles where your tour boats can go. And you're trying to figure out where the whale and orca are going to pop up. The whale always pops up on the one surrounded by the highest numbers, orca on the one surrounded by the lowest numbers. And you use these little tokens, which are actually real nice wood, to try and nail down that location. Plays, I believe, 2 to 4 players? 2 to 5 players. Really? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 5 players. And you are limited, like, on the number of boats that can go to the tiles. It's a very fast game, very, like a fun game. I'm not going to say very fun, because I do think 2 players, it's I think it's going to be that 3 to 5 player, like, little pocket game for me. Though, Scout also can fall into that category. I believe, well, it does play 2. This one comes with a whole bunch of tokens, and then down here, cards. These tokens score positive or negative 20. This is going to be a card shedding game. So you have a hand of cards, and the real cool thing about this one is you have that hand of cards, and you can't adjust your hand. You take it, you start with it, and that's going to set how it goes. And you're looking to play out runs or sets, which you're not going to necessarily have a ton of in your hand to start, though you do have cards numbering 1 through 10 that are going to be kind of in a random order. One of the cool things is that the cards are double-sided, top and bottom, not front and back. So when you... I don't want it. I'm doing it. So, like this, if I have it sitting in my hand this way, it's a 1. If I have it in my hand this way, it's 2. So you might have better combinations another way. Plays fast, number of rounds equal to number of players. Since I have it out of here, I might as well open it up. I'm going to give it a shuffle here so I can show you what hands kind of look like. Not a solo game, so I can't do this one. Demonstrate it solo. I do have a few games that are solo playable. Less than you'd think, though. A lot of these are kind of in that family weight group game. So let's say this is my hand. that actually be pretty solid. Because I have a set of 9s, I have a set of 9s, a 5 of 6, and then this lonesome 2. But I'd be first player, so I could play this out. And now my hand looks like this, slightly better. People come around, they beat it. Let's say they from a 2, somebody plays a 9, and then a 10, and it's back to me. Runs, well, number of cards you play out beats the number on the card, and sets beat runs. So I could play out this one, and now somebody comes along with it's a pretty solid set there. Well, I can now empty out my hand because I've created a group of 4 9s, and that would end the round, and then you tally up your points. Points you get for beating other people's discarded cards. You collect those cards not to add to your hand, but to keep track points in front of you. And there's also this little guy, which allows you to scout and pass. I didn't really show scouting, but scouting would be to pull a card from either end of what was previously played. And you can put that into your hand anywhere, which allows you to create more runs or sets to be able to play down larger groups. So like I had that 5-6, say I had a 5-6-8, then I could scout, take a 7, or scout and play, pick and play, I believe is what they call it. I could have scouted a 7 into my hand to play down a 5-6-7. Round ends in one of 2 ways. Either somebody gets rid of all their cards, or somebody ends the round with having played something down that nobody else can beat. So it gets back to them, basically. We have a pack 16 card expansion for Dragon Prince. 16 non-random cards. This is based on the new season, not the newest season, but the second newest season of the Dragon Prince. Open this up. Well, let's do it. I'm going to have to find the box for Dragon Prince so I can get these in there now. Come on. Add that to the pile of trash. Arcus Ignis, Charged Bite, Fabulous Gourd, Overwhelm, Headbutt, Stealth Portal, Stratum Calico, Shared Sight, Stinky Toe, Mystical Guide, Power Return, Sunseed, Shield Master, Moon Opal, Wings of the Dead, and Umbra Corum. So these, like these 2 are for Claudia. This one is, I don't know who that one's for, but we have Amaya, Viren, Sun, a couple for Viren, Soren, Ezrin, Callum, Rayla, Amaya, Janai, Soren, Ezrin, Sky. And we have the nice dragon over there. It's a game I gotta play. I decided to pick up that expansion just because I was picking up another game that we'll be getting to. But let's do Redwood next, because Redwood has some more of the fun stuff. I got a demo of this one at Gen Con, and yeah, it's cool. It's actually not as complex as you would think. You're trying to take the best photographs out there have some cool animals here. Should be more cool animals. What's that one? I'm telling you that you can just toss it. Funny. But you have this circular board. Don't ask me what that's for. With open slots on it, and these slots you can actually are where the animal tokens go. The animals move around. And then you're using templates. Let's say I started here. You can use a template to move, say, up here, because I'm not crossing any like terrain. And then I might have picked this, but then use that to take a picture of something. Ideally, you want to get as many things as you can in it. So any of these white light bordered things or animal spots for it. And we do have animals down here. They have extra bumps, which you can actually get replacements of these, or will be able to. That these break down as you play with them. Just not the quality they had hoped. So when they come out with the retail version, it's going to be nicer, which is weird because this is like the Kickstarter version, or kind of the Kickstarter version. And the other thing you'll be able to upgrade is these things. You can see are, I mean, you can see through them, but not super well. They're getting clearer ones so that you're going to be able to see what's underneath them better, which is cool that they're doing that. I appreciate when a company is like, yeah, that didn't work out like we thought, let's fix it. Then I think let's go this one. Everything Ever. This one is, sadly, actually it's going to be one that I get rid of. This was free. It's from Floodgate Games, part of their, well, they were selling it for the first time at Gen Con. It is a party game where you're having to come up with answers for two different cards. So, like, every body part and every bean. You have to list off a body part and a bean. You could do 2 for 1 here with kidney. Or this one here, you have a song title with the name of a city in it, city or country in it, and every animal sound. So like here the example is New York, New York, and meow. The issue is it's the same thing. And it's, even as you play down different categories, like they have every crayon color or every tree, it's a very much a kind of like one of those one-trick pony party games. Not bad, but not great. And it says 2 to 10 people and 20 minutes to play. If you have 10 people, it's going to take way more than 20 minutes to play. Like, it might turn into a 40-minute game at that point in time, which would be way too long. 3 people is like 10 to 12 minutes. So it does one. Actually, my biggest complaint with this game is the fact that, like, you're trying to answer those things as fast as possible and not repeat what somebody said. If you repeat, you take the card and a new one is flipped out. And it tends to be when you repeat or mess up something, can't come up with an answer, that's when the laughs occur, It's not laughing with the game. It's not laughing at something funny. It's a little bit more towards at the player for saying something completely absurd. So, yeah, that one, unfortunately for me, a miss. We have Gap. This one is a little game from Arcane Wonders. Could have gotten like 3 games from Arcane Wonders. I only got 2. At least 3. Because there were some fun games. And this one, I love. Shiny, shiny, shiny. Shiny and chrome. This one actually is a 10-minute game. Shiny, 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 shiny. So open up the cards. And I'll walk you through a little bit of how this one works. This is one that was on my list, I think, of 10 more games that I was interested in at Gen Con. Clearly, was interested in it enough to buy it. I liked it when I played it. So, say we have a layout of these cards. We're going to make it real simple. This is my hand. I can lay down a 9, and I would have to take both 9s out of there. And I'm trying to create a gap in number of cards that I have. So if I play down this 8, I have to take the matching 8s, and I would have a gap of, I have 2 here, 1 here. My gap is 1. Obviously, with more players, wider range of cards, you might run into a situation where you have, say, that and that in your hand. Say you have a 4 in your hand, 3, 2. I can also take adjacent numbers, so you can kind of make out maybe a 3 and a 5 are on the card, so you know what's adjacent. It matters because 1s or 0s are adjacent to 1 and 9. 9s are adjacent to 8 and 0s. And then you just play that out, score it. You can play over a few rounds. If you play 2 players, you remove a couple of colors. 3 players, you remove 1. More than that, you use all the cards. And you can play up to different score levels, so different number of hands. Short game, 15 points. Long game, 70 points. That would take a while, potentially. Fun little game. I don't know that it'll make my top 100 of all time, but we'll have to see as I play it more. Because Gap is a good little, like, filler style game. Let's see, we'll set it over there. Let's do another little game here. Metro Transit. This is not actually a super... Oh, it's a newish game. I think it came out a couple years ago. But I hadn't heard about it, and I hadn't played it before. Now, it's a game without that many pieces in it. You have your city center. Why do I feel like I definitely put that together wrong? There we go. That makes more sense. You're basically, of course, cards always sealed. Let's see, do we have the, where's the nice little tear spot? This, here we go. Will it work? Will it work? It will. Whee! So you have on here different cards that connect different routes. So when you place something down, playing it adjacent, and you're looking to get spots to get on And then get off at, though this has to be at least 4 from the city. All these cards are shuffled together. They have different things. There are a few different ways to trip you up. And you're just trying to travel meeples along a given route. Whee! All the way there. So you can say that they got home. I like it. Small. Simple what it does. Challenging enough. We won, but not like super comfortably. And this would be one of those games that I can play solo. Now I have to figure out how in the world these fit in here. Okay. Getting it. Not bad. Okay. Not shabby, actually. I like a small game like this. And this is a good one that I'm like, okay, I can probably take this home to play with like my parents. Now, 2 games that are, I believe, basically the same game from Genius Games. We have Ecosystem. 130 cards, 6 player aids, 1 scorebook, 1 rulebook. Yes, it's going to be the same game. I like the fact that these are in different orders down here. But this is a card drafting game of building out an ecosystem. Now you can't guess. One's kind of woods and meadows, what I consider very Minnesotan. And the other one's coral reefs, which is like the opposite of Minnesotan. I played this one at Gen Con, assuming I go in here. You have different scoring things, like coral scores you 3 points if it's in the bottom row. You're pretty artwork. You're creating a 4x5 grid. Grouper gets 3 points if it's next to krill. And krill gets points if it's in a group. Plankton, you score points if you have the most. Some things give you points in different ways. Some of this is kind of a repeat, unfortunately, more so than I was hoping, of ecosystems. Less interesting on the back there. Yeah, but some difference as well. So rabbits score you a point. You can swap location of 2 cards. Bears want to be adjacent to bees and trout. Trouts want to be adjacent to dragonfly and streams. Streams want to have the longest route. Stuff like that. And you're doing it via card drafting. It's simple, family-friendly drafting game that has good artwork and I think is going to be a good hit for my game group. I liked it a lot. I like drafting games a lot in general, so that's nice. And then we have Forest Shuffle, another pretty game. This is one of those no shrink. I mean, for a nature themed game, I feel like it's kind of nice not to have plastic. We don't. No plastic at all. This is just like waxed paper. These cards are... Is it waxed even? Yeah, it's waxed. Just so it doesn't stick. Now, if I know anything about wax and paper, I have baseball card packs from the early 90s, late 80s. Yeah, it sticks. Eventually. But here, you're building out trees, and then you can place things on either side of trees, as well as... Seriously, we don't have any of those? Maybe not. Oh, here we go. Above or below trees, and you're basically just looking to create scoring combinations. You have a hand of cards, you're working off of that. Everything has its own scoring, like the horse chestnut scores the more you have of them. If you were to have 7 in your forest, it's 49 points total for your horse chestnuts. It ends after you draw the 3rd winter card. But like the European hare, you can play a whole bunch of those off the side of a tree when normally you can only have 1 card. Or the bat, each bat gives you 5 points for if you have at least 3 different bats. Fox allows you to draw a card per European hare and gains 2 points per European hare. So you're looking for different scoring possibilities like that. Not complex, but very pretty artwork. I'm going to open up all these packs just because I'm in here. Like, you can just see tons of artwork. The bullfinch gives you 2 points per bug. The large tortoise shell, like your different butterflies, kind of like the different bats give you points. Butterflies score you points based off of the different varieties you have of them. And there are certain things that happen to kind of push along game end, because game end occurs when those 3 winter cards come out. But every time you plant a new tree, it's pulling cards off the top of the deck. And cards go down into this discard track. I won't open it up the whole way. But basically that discard track is, if it ever gets full with 10, it wipes everything. So you can't just kind of cycle through and pull cards back and forth between that discard track and your hand. Really fun. This is the type of game, like the weight, I know that works well for my group. And 2 to 5 players, about 60 minutes. Yeah, sounds right to me. And now, another slightly older game, Ship Shape by Rob Daviau, which is unique. Think of him as, I mean, he is a prolific designer. He's designed a lot of games. This one, I want to say, oh, come on, so close to off that corner. This is nice plastic. Cover, honestly, it's a little dumb. But you're pirates sailing, and you're trying to get cards to cover up things while getting rid of those negative points from the rats, not having too much contraband, having a bunch of gold, and a bunch of cannons. So your cannon amount minus the lowest cannon amount, which means if you have no cannons, you get no points. There's a whole lot of them. Plays up to 6, you go on different voyages. And you also get bonus, like if you have every single spot covered up. The rats would count for that, but leaving 6 points of rats uncovered to get 2 bonus points is probably not your best strategy overall. This is interesting. Rules are on... It's not really paper. Very short, though. I like it. Interesting. So special rules for 6 and 2. That makes sense. Basically, you can't compare with everybody when you have a large group of players, or you have to figure out a way to more fairly compare some of the things with a smaller number of players. This is what I got when I picked up Dragon Prince stuff as well. We have Overboss Duel. You are villainous bosses from a dungeon, and you have decided to move on from your dungeon life in Boss Monster to be on the surface. Overboss itself is a tile-laying playing game. These tiles here. So many tiles. But now you're doing it with 2 players. I believe with regular Overboss, each player has a board. Now, it is a shared board, and you can play anywhere on there to try and mess up your opponent. Things like that. All the tiles, all the 16-bit style, 8-bit style artwork. They had some extra spots here. A number of symbols to figure out what those mean. But this one, I'm excited to play it. Looks like there's room for all those tiles down there. Two-player version. And if I like the 2-player version, you know that probably means I'll be getting the higher player count. So one game I'm not going to pull out that I did get to play at Gen Con is Burn Cycle. I actually got Burn Cycle last year. And I never played my copy. Why? Because it's a dense game. But I did an event at Gen Con, so I gotta learn it. Let's go on to Spellbook, because Spellbook's a fun game from Phil Walker Harding, who does a lot of like smaller, kind of accessible games. When I say smaller, I just mean it's not overwrought games. This one, Spellbook, that actually seems like more of a rule. Okay, a lot of it's explanation for a few cards. We have some things here. We have our familiars. We have unless I'm crazy. Oh, there we go. It's like I was gonna say, unless I'm crazy, we're missing a piece, but it's down there. One of the cool bits of this game are all these bits, which are acrylic. And you're basically doing set collection on different colors to then be able to cast spells. And there's, I think, 2, maybe 3 different combinations that you can have to different sets. These look all the same thus far. Let's do almost. Got it. So you have your set of 7, or another set of 7, or a third set of 7. For your players, everybody plays off of the same sets. Only plays up to 4. It feels like it should be able to handle more, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad it doesn't, because that could make the game go quite long. And you're either casting spells or you're feeding those little pieces to your familiar. And wherever the next one that you haven't covered is what you score points for. I think most kids could do that. I like it how there's a floppy disk symbol to say, hey, save this sheet so you know how to put it back together. Because nothing says... that is one of the things I find hilarious, is how the save icon, a floppy disk save icon, is now the save symbol for everything. Floppy disks don't even exist. Well, they do, but floppy disks aren't actually used for anything, or they shouldn't be. This was a last-minute purchase at Gen Con. Dogfight. I already opened it because this tile, they gave it to you separately, since must be this one was misprinted. But you're basically piloting around in a dogfight in a 2-player game, using those chips or chits to activate things. And then special rules depending on the color of the plane, what you're doing. So I'm curious about this one. It's from a line of games that all kind of do the same thing, though the rest of them have been by a different designer. Is it Paolo More who designed them? And this one is by Carlo Rossi. So I hope it's good. I like the idea of, like the other ones were Blitzkrieg and Caesar. Seize Rome in 20 minutes, something like that. Rule the Skies in 20 minutes. The whole thing is their quick combat war type games. So I'm very intrigued by that one. Let's show off this one next. Oh, a couple more promos. This one, Lucky Lake, Lucky Ducks promo for Flamecraft. Gotta get that in the Flamecraft box. This is the Gen Con 2023 Sagrada tile. And this one is for Cardboard Alchemy with Lucky Duck, I guess, are putting out a game called Critter Kitchen, where you're cooking in Bistro Bay, coming to Kickstarter November 24th. Super excited for that one. Artwork, phenomenal. We have 2 booster packs for Sagrada Artisans. Let's show off Sagrada Artisans as well as we can. Say as well as we can, because this is a legacy game. Oh. I was trying to figure out what this one had been for. There are little star stickers on it. That's intriguing. Pop this open. Great looking box. You have your overview. We're just going to look at the first page here of your journal. I'm not going to touch that. You're starting out filling in stained glass windows. They get crazy. I'm going to stop there because I don't want to know what that is. There's another bonus pack in here. Cool thing, the Sagrada Artisans. So you roll your dice. They cannot repeat. And then a whole bunch of stuff that we're not going to look at. These are pencils. You could look at those. But you can guess the colors. STUY. So 25 of those. Picking these up, being like, is there anything in there? Pencil sharpener. Sharpening your colored pencils. That could actually look kind of cool once it's full of shavings. Way less dice. Because you're not, I don't think, setting any aside. So it's mainly through those packs plus what's in here. Those two feel empty. That one is not. Let's put it that way. OPR, so maybe we're N. Yeah. So 25 total things, it seems like, to open. Load stuff back in. Stick this fancy sticker sheet in there. Pretty fast rules. Definitely some additional rules to get added. And should be a good one to play. The other Sagrada, or Floodgate game stuff. We're getting down to it. We have 2 more games. Sagrada Artisans was a pretty hot one there. Another hot game. They had plenty of copies. Wild Tiled West. This is a tile laying, tile drafting, or selecting game set in the Wild West with anthropomorphized animals. I believe Paul Dennen is the designer of Clank, another game from Direwolf. That convinced me, as well as just I like tile laying, kind of the polyomino tile sort of stuff that you're seeing pretty often in games now. So you got different tiles. These tiles will go into something slightly further down. You have your player boards that you're trying to fill in these cities, you're trying to connect pastures, you're trying to fire off bullets to take out bandits. Different sides for different things. And then believe. Yeah, go down here. How storage will work. This tells you what shapes or what things to put in them. It's dual layer, but it's super thick cardboard, so you can get a couple in. And then depending on the numbers rolled and the type of die rolled, it will determine what section you can draft from. Plus resources, stuff like that. So excited for this one. Need to get punched out, get ready, set up, good to go. A few games like that I'd love to have ready for this weekend. Big game night coming up on Saturday. The final game. Let's actually move this over there. Well, tiled west for there as well. This is one that I didn't get to try, but I knew there were a limited number of copies. I happened to go by the booth, like intentionally. Oh, I was on my way to Sagrada Artisans, grabbed that the first day, and I saw there were still a few left, so I grabbed World Wonders. World Wonders. Wooden monuments. Great leaders of the ancient world are willing to spend their gold in order to build glorious monuments. So it looks like you're putting things, these tiles, because that tiles are hot right now, into play on player boards, trying to complete different setups. Looks like there's some variety. Different tracks. A and B sides, maybe? Well, yeah, A and B sides to get different things. You have different spots for tiles there. And then all these little wonders. These are cool. That's real cool. So tile drafting, I believe, to get resources to then be able to build wonders. Like that big old pyramid right there. I'm excited to learn this one. This one, what's the player count? 1 to 5? Might work for game night. We'll have to see how many people we have coming. But that's everything. That is all that I came back with, I believe, from Gen Con 2023. It's more than enough games to keep me busy for a while, especially since a couple of them are 2 players. Those are going to be a little bit more limited as to when I can get them to the table. Plus, I came back to a few games. Arceus, Legacy Egyptian dungeon crawl adventure game, Expeditions from Stonemaier Games, Furnace expansion, Sea of Thieves game. So I have a few new games ready to get played. So I'm looking at Feast for Odin. It's another tile game that I need to get played. Overall, such a fun Gen Con. Again, I'll wrap up just kind of talking about some of the experiences. And I will say, the best way to find out more about it, check out the articles I'm putting up over on nerdologist.com. I'm going to be writing about Gen Con stuff for probably into next week. Maybe, probably about a week more. Let's say that. So, going to be a lot of stuff to talk about there. A lot of cool games. that I got to try. Like I said, I think it's 42, 43 different games that I got to sit down and physically demo. Oh, I think that's one of them I forgot. I think I forgot one from my list. But yeah, it's always a great time and a really good time to see people as well. Got to meet up with Man vs. Meeple crew and people on the Discord. That was a grand old time, even if the food was slow and it was 1,000,000 degrees. Oh, so hot. So hot. That was the roughest part, was that heat. That was just brutal. 2 years in a row now. AC has gone out. And last year it wasn't actually too bad, because they were staffed really well at the restaurant we went to for dinner, and they kept stuff moving. This place, they were just understaffed or underprepared for whatever it was. I think we got there at 7. I think we had food about 9:30. Main course. I think 9 o'clock, I would say, for the salads and stuff like that. A few appetizers came out earlier, but oof, that was a wait. But it's such a good time just sitting there chatting about board games, video games, movies, books, everything nerdy you could do. So that's what like the highlights of Gen Con are gonna be. Every year's, I mean, there's games that I love to play. There's exciting things like these guys, getting them because I did a demo event that I'm excited for, but it's really about the people you're with and being around so many people excited about the same thing that you are, which is board games. But with that, thank you for watching. Next week, back to regularly scheduled programming, 9 p.m. Monday Central Time. I'm going to be playing a board game, and I'm trying to think, would it be any of these? Maybe. Looks like Spellbook can be played solo. Might try and figure out how to do that solo. Or Mass Transit. Mass Transit would be easy enough to play solo, I think, without much effort. So that might actually be the game that is going to get played. And then next Wednesday, back to the Isofarian Guard. 8 p.m. Central for that. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment once it's done. Let me know if you were at Gen Con, what games you picked up, or if you weren't, or even if you were, what out of the games I got would you be the most excited for? Let me know. And the easiest way, I will say this, is to know when I go live is to subscribe and click that notification bell. It's going to let you know when a new video comes out. It's basically always live. I might eventually start doing more recorded content, but right now that isn't in the cards, so to speak. And finally, I mentioned nerdologist.com as the spot to check out more Gen Con coverage. Just in general, too, more board game and nerdy coverage over there as well. For things like anime, movies, comics, whatever it might be. I post new articles there every weekday, sometimes two. And then I also have a Marvel podcast, 10-Minute Marvel, that comes out every Tuesday. We skipped this last Tuesday because of Gen Con. But we'll be back to discuss more MCU stuff coming up this next week. With that, thank you for watching, and bottoms up.